Okay. It's the year 1932, and you honestly want to make your honest living by being a sharecropper in Mississippi. And when you get done with your cotton early in the rising, and people, or the slaves, as they would call us, are, or the beings who aren't open-minded into finding their own liberation within themselves, they were just now getting started. As you know, this main character right here is being portrayed in this sense. Then next thing you know, all you want to do to wind down and get your addiction on is play the blues with your guitar. But of course, as a preacher's boy, you know, your father won't really allow that, because your father will demonize the practices that you are really gifted in through the form of music. But in the beginning of this documentary of our lifestyle, this music is able to conjure spirits and awaken them in the realms that they are hiding behind and waiting for and lusting after, as we are wanting to make means within deals or Faustine bargains, and dancing with devils that we are not able to align with. And that's the problem right there. Whenever your cousins come into town and they descend down from Chicago's enlightenment or hierarchy, they decide to introduce you to cursed money that obviously has gotten your family this church that your father will continuously preach in. But of course, he will demonize what you want to do as far as being musical with a certain method that gets you to be able to sustain what you're living in, as far as accepting the plantation mindset of being under their mind control from the beings that are consuming you since biblical time periods. Because of course, if we're going to correlate that to the book of Enoch, you got to understand as well with timelines. So even from 2025 for today, which is April 24th, I want to say, but from this time period, it'll be 5,500 or 5,500 years from today. But Enoch will be considered the seventh generation of what the first human trials has lied upon. And because of that, this being would have been existing in 3,000 something BCE, or some timeline in BCE, or this consciousness, and that before consciousness existed. Now understand too, as we're reading this, wait a minute, where am I going? Where are my manners? So as we are tying into this with the story or this movie called, you know, Sinners, understand as well, your father tells you not to dance with the devil or you'll take it home with you. And you just don't seem to really understand that message, because you just want to go with your cousins because it's fun to be around them, because they're very authentic in how they got this or how they got that, but they won't tell you a truth that they hide behind as well. And one of those being keeping you enslaved into the plantation, because there are far more sinister things that they aren't ready for you to be seen just yet. And once you do see them, you'll cast a certain judgment that will make you question who they always been. But you being the main character, you don't really care for that. You just want to play the guitar and go on home. But that's the thing though. As they introduce you to a certain musical joint, now all of a sudden your night isn't really a nightmare. It's just a realization of what you're addicted to, even though it opens you up into understanding that beings or vibrations with demonic ideologies basically are actually a real thing, to the point to where now they had to cast your actual false reality onto a TV screen to basically help other beings introduce themselves into understanding what cannibals have always been. Celestial rising and divine afternoon to the divine sinner watching this video. It's your divine reflection, divine messenger. And we are back to show you the mirage that you have subconsciously been hiding behind. But of course, when you ascend your mind, you become greater than what your mind actually wants to be lustful in, or greedful in, or gluttonous in, to be exact. And by this, you decide to keep on being righteous by consuming different foods and drinks that will help you stay healthy beyond the aspect of what unhealthy thoughts could cast you to want to be. And we are back with another message. And understand as well, before we get into this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe for more divine messages. Understand, before we get into this, I have information all over the place. I want you to understand as well, I ain't neither right nor wrong. I have no idea what I'm talking about. And because of that, because I say that, you're probably new here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you choose to. And always understand as well, contradict everything, question everything. Contradict everything, question everything. Understand those shirts are available as well, but not only just the shirt, but the message as well. Because when you are able to contradict things that are able to help you understand what your family has always been, they were able to document these different teachings to help you understand what you could be like if you're not able to start loving yourself and stop being envious of beings that you see on a Saturnalian screen. That's basically screening your mindset into freezing yourself into being what you think you can't ever be, but you can be that way if you chose to be that way. If society didn't keep up with your means that you had to buy before in a lifetime, but now all of a sudden something happened with a financial shortage and you're scrambling or you're running for scraps and you're scouring to get a meal, but you can't get a meal. You're starting to get hungry. You're starting to realize, like, you know what? I don't want to keep on eating healthy because it doesn't satisfy me. I'm not used to that lifestyle. So I want to eat things that would satisfy me for a long period of time. And of course, majority of people in these biblical time periods, they figured as if I don't want to have to wait till the harvest season in the summer or the spring to want to feed myself. So when it comes down to a cold climate and there's no fruits and vegetables being grown in the farms, what you going to eat? If you don't know how to fish or hunt for food, if you don't know how to make a bow and arrow, if you don't know how to make some type of device that, or a mediator that can help you knock down this oxen or this bull or these coyotes or these jaguars or cougars or bears, for example, how you gonna stay warm for the winter? How you gonna catch these fish if you don't know how to fish? You don't have a fishing rod to get you into the water. You don't have a boat to just be sitting there chilling. No. In these time periods, you didn't really think of that stuff like that because you were just doing it. Because that was just your nature. You were always outside as the man, as the masculine, divine masculine. You were going outside and you were bringing back home the food. You didn't have time to be sitting in the house gossiping all day and talking about bullshit. No, you went to go gather with some other people as well, or your brothers, in secrecy, and y'all would either go talk about things, go catch some things for your family to bring back. I'm pretty sure after that, somebody thought of something like, hey, let's go ahead and wind down with some beer as we have collected a wolf or, you know, a deer, an antelope, not antelope, but a moose, ducks, whatever the case may be. Once you're thinking like that, now we got to go far and beyond what envy will bring. So in the beginning of this film, they understood that. We got to understand as well. Let's see. In the beginning of this film, even before this scene right here, but they mentioned, the narrator mentioned that the natives, even us being native to this land of America or Babylon, they were always, so they would call them fire keepers. And fire keepers are basically gatekeepers, or the watchers, as they would call them, as Draconian or Dracula. But by them being the watcher spirits, they were always watching over us, even through all the elements. So when they're mentioning all the elements of fire, you'll be able to understand as well with the scenarios of fire descending down this juke joint that also casted these cannibalistic beings into being attracted into our musical sense of being one with our nature and unity. Because of course, as carbonated deities, our nature is obviously to make music so that we can be one with the unison of the Almighty Creator. Not only that, on the plantation, even in that time period, because that's still going on for today. When that time period was happening and happening and still happening for today, we had to be one. Not only just that, send symbolic messages through the music. So way down the water. So all these different slave musics, like these musicals, we were singing those musicals because, for one, as somebody was planning to run off of the plantation and go be free, we wanted to cast positive affirmations for them to send themselves off. Not only just that, but baby was coming into existence. We're casting these different positive messages so that the tone for the being to come into this realm of slavery, we want that baby to have protection to the point so that they don't get to feel or experience what we are experiencing right now. Because there was deeper things going on. There was underlining things in this documentary that portrayed what goes beyond just cannibalism. All right, on 146, Cain was jealous against his brother Abel on account of this, and he saw a pretext to slay him. And it's sometime after, Cain and Abel, his brother, went one day into the field to do their work, and they were both in the field, Cain tilling and plowing his ground, and Abel feeding his flock. And the flock passed that part which Cain had plowed in the ground, and it sorely grieved Cain on this account. And Cain approached his brother Abel in anger. And he said unto him, what is there between me and thee, that thou comes to dwell and bring thy flock to feed in my land? Basically letting his brother know, or so this cannibal is letting his own reflection know. So Cain and Abel are not actually two people. They're actually one person being two people in their mindset, because that's how unforgiving they weren't forgiving themselves to be. This cannibal was so unforgiving for itself for eating another being, to the point to where now it made up a story to where it was two beings, so that the story wouldn't shame the being that had the watchers jot this stuff down, to the point to where now we buy the bullshit. Doesn't matter if it's the Book of Enoch, doesn't matter the Emerald Tablets, doesn't matter if it's the don't even worry, I got Spotify, because I got audiobooks that talk about these ancient documents. So it doesn't matter if it's the Book of Enoch, it doesn't matter if it's the Bible as well. Okay. What else we got? Where can I find? Come on, baby, come on. Because right now I'm about to put y'all on game. So the Apocrypha. What the fuck is going on right now? Okay. All right, we're good. So let me go to library. Let me go to audiobooks. Okay. Excuse me. The Book of Jubilees. It doesn't matter if it's the Book of Jubilees. It doesn't matter if it's the Epic of Gilgamesh. It doesn't matter if it's the Enuma Elish or Elish. Doesn't matter if it's, what else we got? Egyptian mythology, the Book of the Watchers, the First Judgment. Doesn't matter if it's the Book of Spells. Doesn't matter if it's the Book of Enoch, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Doesn't matter if it's the first book of Adam and Eve. Doesn't matter if it's the Kabbalion, Stoicism. Doesn't matter if it's a map of consciousness. Doesn't matter if it's the Book of Parables or the Chariot of Gods. Doesn't matter if it's the Greatest Secret or Manifest 7 Steps to Living Your Best Life, the Way of Zen. It doesn't matter if it's the Lost Books of Adam and Eve. Doesn't matter if it's the Book of the Watchers, the Return of Nephilim, Archangel, Alchemy, Healing. Doesn't matter if it's War of the Israelites. Doesn't matter if it's the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac. It doesn't matter what, the Blood of Yeshua. It doesn't matter what book it is. These beings are always going to continue to send out contradicted, my bad, my eyes itching, contradicted messages for us to be able to want to understand. But we can't understand that enlightenment. They've been doing this shit. Not only just that, timelines are let's go back to Chronos. If you went to the movie theater and you seen this observation, you were frozen in time. What do I mean? So just from my experience, when I watched it last Sunday, the Sunday that passed recently, I realized that by being in a realm, so a theater is a barrier, because for one, depending on what kind of phone you have, you may not get signal outside because they want you to keep your phone off because silence is golden. Not only just that, when you're walking into the barrier, you feel a certain way because as a child or your inner child, how did you feel when you walked into a movie theater with your mom or your family? How did you feel whenever your family would want to come to the movies with you and you see your cousins with you, your friends with you? You were just excited. Imagine going to the movies when you were a teenager with your friends or whatever, and it felt good to be alone with your friends or the people that you hung out with at that time period. Those different memories, that nostalgia feeling felt good because you're able to see a movie outside of your own home. Not only just that, you get to see the other reactions of other people as well who are watching the same exact documentary or entertainment value as you. But you got to realize as well, when you're freezing yourself in Chronos' time period or time capsule, you are now going within the barrier of other barriers that are keeping you limited to a message on a screen. So it's not only a message, but they're showing you on a screen. So when you watch it in the beginning, I am going to spoil the movie, by the way, not all of it, but majority of it. When you see the scene right here, Black Cube of Saturn. So of course, a lot of Christians will say this, you shouldn't watch this movie because it's too demonic for Christians. We're not into that. For one, your religion, your practice is demonic, but you won't understand that because you're not fixated on actually doing your own research through being open-minded into ways that Jesus Christ or Lucifer will never teach you. But by him dancing with the devil and still having that curse in his hand that saved his life. This curse saved his life, and his father still wanted him to put that curse down. But that curse brought him back to you with open arms, and you still couldn't accept his gift. You still couldn't accept his gift. That's what Christianity will do to you. Christianity will sit here and want to accept you with open arms, but whenever you come with a curse that saves your life to the point to where you're not actually being unrighteous with that curse, but you want to do righteous things with that curse, but somehow, some way, the curse left a mark on you to the point to where now the being that's practicing Satanism behind closed doors is mad at you for opening the doors up to their ignorance. So when the cannibal was telling itself, hold on, let's see where we go. Okay. And approached his brother Abel in anger. He said unto him, what is there between me and thee, that thou comest to dwell and bring thy flock to feed in my land? So the cannibal was talking to itself, saying, why are these sheep messing up my work in my land that I work so hard to be working in? Not everybody can be a shepherd, Abel, or my brother that my mother gave birth to. Yeah, I see that you got a higher position than me, but you don't got to rub it in my face, so get off my fucking land. And Abel, his brother, his alter ego, because there is no Cain and Abel, you are the cannibal. His brother Cain said unto him, what is there between me and thee? Like, what do you mean? What is there? What's the issue between you and I? My fault. Okay. That thou shalt eat the flesh of my flock and clothe thyself with their wool? You eating the flesh of my sheep and then you wearing their clothes? As if I didn't know, my nigga? You eating my flock and you acting as if I'm not supposed to speak up on what you're wearing? You eating the vibration, then you wearing it in my face, and then you're not telling me that you're eating it in my face, but you letting me see you eat it in your face, and then you wonder why I'm walking on this land? You're eating my ignorance. And then you're mocking it by wearing it in my face like I wouldn't know? And now therefore put off the wool of my sheep which thou hast clothed thyself, and recompense me for their fruit and flesh which thou hast eaten. And when thou shalt have done this, I will then go from thy land, and thou hast said. And Cain said to his brother Abel, surely if I slay you today, who will require thy blood from me? And Abel answered Cain, saying, surely Elohim, or God, the God is dimension, the subconscious mind, a title, who has made us in the earth, so extraterrestrial beings who have modified our genetics from the first human trials till today, letting you know he will avenge my cause, the righteous act of these beings will avenge his cause, and he will require my blood from thee, shouldest thou slay me. For the Lord, the title of Lucifer, is the judge of this dimension and arbiter, and it is he who will requite man according to his evil, and the wicked man according to the wickedness that he may do upon earth. And now, if thou shouldst slay me here, surely Elohim knoweth thy secret views, and will judge thee for the evil which thou didst declare to do unto me this day. And when Cain heard the words which his brother had spoken, behold, the anger of Cain was kindled against his brother Abel for declaring this thing. And Cain hastened and rose up and took the iron part of his plowing instrument, with which he suddenly smote his brother, and he slew him. And Cain split the blood of his brother Abel upon the earth, and the blood of Abel streamed upon the earth before the flock. We are all sinners. Not only just that, it's not justified to be doing that shit. And then I'm going to go into the flood part as well. Because, let's see here. So now we're on 152. This is going to be on 18. We're going to write this down real quick. Let's see here. I'm just going to use a piece of this. Actually, no. My fault, y'all. I'm trying to find something real quick to write on. Nah, I don't want to put it on this. It's all good. 18. It's going to be on 18. 152. All right, so 25. And now therefore I will teach you wisdom and knowledge, and will give you instruction before I leave you, how to act upon earth, whereby you may live. And he did so. And he taught them wisdom and knowledge, and gave them instruction. And he reproved them, and he placed before them statutes and judgment to do upon earth. And he made peace amongst them, and he taught them everlasting life, and dwelt with them some time, teaching them all these things. And at the time the sons of men were with Enoch, and Enoch was speaking to them, and they lifted up their eyes in the likeness of a great horse descending from heaven, and the horse paced in the air. And that's when Enoch was able to ascend into a higher way of being, showing them a certain indication of what they weren't understanding. And so now, we're about to go into the flood. Okay, bingo. So in the meantime, the Lord said to Noah and Methuselah, stand forth and proclaim to the sons of men all the words that I spoke to you in those days. Peradventure they may turn from their evil ways, and I will then repent of the evil and will not bring it. and know it and not bring it. So this title brought this evil upon all of us to the point to where now, so if you see this scene right here, this is where the Native Americans were chasing off the being that was, of course, portrayed as Irish, but this is where this entity was already possessed by that vampiric or parasitic or vampirism spirit that was conjured by the indication of music. But that's exactly why Native Americans chased it out, because the Native Americans, us descendants Indians, Choctaw Indians as well in this documentary, they were understanding and portraying to the fact that, okay, when we're singing out in nature with the fire, that's when they're coming through, because that fire, not only just that fire, but if you have a voice that is willingly bringing fire into your vessel and other people's vessels as well, that's keeping them inspired, that's when now the beings who are lying behind this barrier or this veil, they'll now come to the veil spiritually and possess a mentally weak being that is also, or a strong-minded being that is able to sing this song. But if they can't get to you, they'll get to somebody close to you and then attack you from them. And so, okay. In 25, and it was after this, the Lord said to Noah, why is God talking to Noah or Zeasuja? The end of all flesh is come before me on account of their evil deeds, and behold, I will destroy the earth. And do thou take unto the gopher wood and go to a certain place and make a large ark and place it in that spot, or a UFO, UAP. That's where you get the material from. And thou shalt make unto thee a door open at his side into a cubit, thou shalt finish above and cover it within and without that pitch. And so after that, that's when the sons of men were going outside of this ark and they were trying to get in. Let's see here. Where is that one at? Okay, and this is 12 and 158. 21. And so the sons of men will not return from their evil ways, and they increased the anger of the Lord at that time, and did not even direct their hearts to all this. And at the end of the 7 days in the 600th year of the life of Noah, the waters of the flood were upon the earth, and all the fountains of the deep were broken up. So understand as well, they didn't even tell us what happened to them. So, and the lightning flashed and the thunder roared, on the fountains in the earth were broken up, such as was not known to the inhabitants before. And God did his mighty act in order to terrify the sons of men, that there might be no more evil upon earth. And still the sons of men would not return from their evil ways. And the sons, 16. And all the sons of men that were left upon the earth became exhausted through evil on account of the rain. For the waters were coming more violently upon the earth, and the animals and beasts were still surrounding this ark. And the sons of men assembled together about 700,000 men and women, and they came unto Noah to the ark. 700,000 men and women. And they called to Noah, saying, open for us that we may come to thee in the ark, and wherefore shall we die? And Noah with a loud voice answered them from the ark, saying, have you not all rebelled against the Lord, and said that he does not exist, and therefore the Lord brought upon you this evil, to destroy and cut you off from the face of the earth? Is not this thing that I spoke to you of 120 years back, and you would not hearken to the voice of the Lord, and now do you desire to live upon earth? And they said to Noah, we are ready to return to the Lord, or Lucifer. Only open for us that we may live and not die. Because why are we sitting here saying we are ready to return to this title? They just said unconsciously in the book of Noah on verse 20, page 158, we are ready to return to the title of unconsciousness, because God will never call himself the Lord or God or Jesus or Yeshua or Satan. That is satanic in its own nature. We are reading unconsciousness in a satanic paradox. So in parables, Lucifer will never be preaching or teaching you anything that you haven't already known. Why did you return during these 120 years, which the Lord granted you at this determined period? But now you come and tell me this on account of the troubles of your souls. Now also the Lord will not listen to you, neither will he give ear to you on this day, so that you will not now succeed in your wishes. And the sons of men approached in order to break into the ark to come in on account of the rain, for they could not bear the rain upon them. And the Lord sent all beasts and animals to sit around the ark, and the beasts overpowered them and drove them from that place. And every man went his way, and they again scattered themselves upon the face of the earth. And after that, they were saying how the water rose up. But understand, though. Understand. I'm about to go back to that. And the beasts overpowered, and every man went his way, and they again scattered themselves upon the face of the earth. I'm going to stop it right there as well. They scattered upon the face of the earth. So not only when the first cannibal did this shit or the first vampire did this, we gotta go into this reaction right here from a video I posted today from Instagram and TikTok.
The vampires come from the Nephilim? Well, vampires are real in the occult. Dracula is a more modern type of the literature. That's
If you're on Instagram or TikTok, you already seen this video. But to my YouTube family, or Unity, Nephilim vampires, ancient low vibrational entities pretending to be human and feeding on our energy since the flood. But how can ignorance flood its contradiction of enlightenment that they cause humanity to dream and currently infinitely?
hold the belief system and their history within it. So you have Dracula, for example, as a son of a dragon. It goes back to Greek for Drakont and Drakonta, which means watcher, as in watcher, angel. It's everywhere. People just don't recognize the links of it.
Literally, so the Watchers, so on the account of the Watchers, who's always watching us? You will call it Big Brother, or why not Big Sister, or why not the Galactic Federation? They come in peace whole entire time. That peace has some hell to that illusion. So what is peace in an illusion? That you'll never be peaceful in.
And of course, the giants, both before and after the flood, and secret societies probably at the depth level even today would drink blood. And they were drinking blood to extend their life after Genesis 6:3, shorten all lifespan to 120 years. And they also used it secondarily.
And that's because as well with the chemicals that they were portraying into the air, not only just that, they poison the air quality. So by them even modifying our genetics, they understood like, you know what, these beings are so powerful, we had to figure out how to knock their lifespan down to a lower way of being. Because of course in the book of Enoch, these beings were living beyond 600 years. So what happened? Why did we go down to 100 something, if that? Some people can't even make it to 10 years old. So you better be thankful that you're actually being alive every single day.
Provide additional cognitive abilities. And so they preyed on humans not only to eat them before the flood, but to drink their blood. And then after the flood, they had to do things a little bit more in secrecy as they were needing humankind to survive because they had a fertility issue after the flood.
But I understand as well, if you haven't watched Sinners, go and watch that because that will help you understand what we were actually living in. Not only just that too, the movie was a projection of what the actors do in that movie and what people have been doing in all societies with secrecy. So they were basically just showing you and foretelling what your favorite idol worshiper is doing behind closed doors. And people went and seen this and were entertained by the message, but they weren't actually understanding what they were telling you the whole entire time. So Ryan Coogler was also projecting what he does as well to get to where he is, or what he has seen to get to where he is as well. All he did was just put our culture and other cultures as well to combine into what everybody has been doing the whole entire time. Now I understand as well with the flood never happened because you got to ask yourself as well, where did the flood come from? You just opened up the title, or you just opened up the disguise of what the sky will never be, and then water just came down, or did you reign on your own ignorance? So the flood literally interprets, or is interpreting what beings have done for themselves. They flooded their own mind with ignorance. When beings lost their source of God, or they lost their way of God, that's when they were thirsting and finding that source through our carbon database, because these beings are not like us. So as all these rappers, these musicians, these artists are telling you what is going on, they have to tell you in plain sight because they are all doing the exact same thing to stay alive. So if you see a celebrity back in 1800s, 1700s, and to now, you can say, wait a minute, that's a lookalike. No, duh, my nigga, because they are all replicating our neuromelanin. Not only just that, our DNA. Now they're splicing it and then saving it for a rainy day. They're saving it and freezing it in labs because, of course, in Saturn, whenever you take somebody's DNA and you strand it into a certain capsule and you freeze it in time, because Saturn or Kronos will be the timekeeper. Not only just that, the baby eater as well. So they will send that embryo in that capsule right there. So you and I are actual clones. So they clone Tyrone. Go underground because they are not fallen angels. They literally come from the ground. They come from beneath the surface, my nigga. So they're letting you know under your feet, you are being replicated again and again and again. So when you feel as if you die in this lifetime right now, all they're going to do is just dig your body up, or they'll get your solar awareness, bring it right back down into a vessel, and still feed on your blood, because these beings aren't going anywhere. So when Cain consumed Abel, and when Cain was eating the sheep and all that, That was a message letting you know Cain couldn't control his ways. So the Nephilim, they couldn't control their ways because they lost that love and compassion for the God within. They were too busy wondering what's going on. Why are they like this? Because they weren't able to actually be healthy-minded anymore because they were consuming meat. So as you keep consuming dense vibrations, you will act like your vibration. And then the lower you go in that vibration by not having love for yourself, you turn into an actual vampire. You turn into a Dracula or a draconian being or entity or a species, because they're not actually reptilian, because reptilians are a vibration of your energy. We're all reptilian, and that's the case. So therefore they don't fucking exist. We bring them into existence, but you can't fathom an entity or a deity that goes beyond the 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th and 9th dimensions that we are actually aware in through our own observation outside of time and what they are continuing to enslave us in, which is their timelines. So if you believe today is April 23rd, 2025, you have been lied to once again, because time does not exist to itself. You have been here for so long, you forgot that you were dreaming in an observation of your false reality that they are bearing your enlightenment in. So you are not black, you are not white, you are the absence of their color system. They trapped you in color so that you can be blind to the illusion of what's really going on. They are actually walking amongst you right now. And if we are in a zombie apocalypse, you or your family, maybe even you, your friends, your neighbors, whatever you care for, whatever you have seen on a daily basis, when people stop having fruit, water, basic necessities to survive as far as heat and air, cold air, when they don't have that anymore, people will start eating people again. Not only just that, it'll be in your neighborhood. And it's no different because it's still happening in your neighborhood right now. So when you see that right now, what are you going to do for yourself and protect yourself from these actual vampires possessing our bodies in the spiritual realm that we can't even see every single day? If you can't understand who they are, then you'll never understand who you always been. You choose to not be like them because you are not like them. But they want to be like you. So what do they got to do to be like you? Take your family, take your friends, put their energy into their body and say, hey, you remember me? And you'll be like, you seem different. Whole entire time, that difference is still similar to what you can't understand about what you could be as well. Have a great divine day, divine reflection. That shit crazy. Damn. Let's keep going. Wow. Because I made this earlier, but I didn't really, nigga, I fell into a rabbit hole of my own mind. Because, like, I don't really, that's crazy. Let's keep going.
Yeah. This happened in the country.
Okay, so for this one, I made a second video, Intergalactic Slave Trading, how secret societies breed human souls for archons, astral parasites across dimensions since before 2025 years, was considered a timeline that we currently observe dreaming in.
Yeah, pretty much, these boys from Taiwan started getting these job applications or these job offers to become surrogate mothers for these girls who live in Georgia or whatever, right? And pretty much these people are promising these girls from Taiwan like a fat bag, like hella euros and hella money that they're paying. They're like, yeah, we'll cover, the flight expenses, your living expenses, all that. If you just come over here and become a surrogate mother for the girls here, right? Yeah. So these girls from Taiwan ended up going to this place, bro. And once they got there, bro, they realized, like, this job is not what they thought it was, bro. Where they sent these girls to, bro, it's damn near like, I was like a breeding camp. Damn near, bro. Are you serious? It's like a farm where they were like 100 women. They have to have kids. They were like slaves, bro. And they used it like an egg farm where they're like taking their eggs that they used to, to make babies and stuff. Pretty much taking them and like sending them to, God knows where. So they're basically sending it to other women and like other people in other countries or whatever, yes. Wow. And they're pretty much using these girls as like slaves. Yeah, bro, that's like almost a breeding farm. Yes, and I think 3 girls ended up breaking out of it somehow and ended up getting help. And then that's how they snitched on the whole operation. And that's how everyone found out like what was going on, bro. But they said there was like over 100 women there that were pretty much being used as like like a breeding farm. Wow, dude. Where did you say this was? It's happened in Georgia. Great. I never heard about it. No, I understand.
I'm showing you this because remember when the guy earlier said they had a fertility issue as far as the actual society. So like occultic societies as far as Masonry, Luciferians, Comedian 300, Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Windsors, Vatican, so on and so forth. But they had a fertility issue even before this flood or whatever. Now I understand as well when they scattered across this dimension and then the dimension was flooded. Understand it flooded with more ignorance that they were going to keep flooding themselves with. So how can water flood itself when water was just always going to rise and descend right back down to where it's always been calm in? So by them even scattering across this dimension, they had to go underground before the water got too high. So by them going into this dimension, they were able to now create more life and start eating each other as well. So even as far as the mountains as well, they went into the Caucasian mountains or Caucasus Mountains, and with the video that I'm gonna show y'all, this is when they were not only competing against each other, but they were going to war over resources. I have so many screenshots for y'all. Like let's just get into it. Oh my god, bro. Shit crazy.
Why would the dude who owned Amazon ship 5 bitches to outer space?
I will be doing a video on that, exposing the fake space hoax thing and all that. I'm overworking myself when I have all the answers to my homework right here in front of you. I just like to make sure that I can define what you're really watching with me. So I know somebody's saying here, you're probably like, what the hell am I watching right now? What did I subconsciously program myself to be into? Now understand, this is not a program at all whatsoever. I'm here to help you understand that these vibrations, these energies, these different frequencies are actually one and the same within your vibration that you stay sane in. When you stay calm, you stay understanding of different contradicted energies that are lost in their ways. You forgive them for what way they decide to live in, temporarily, by the way. They choose to be evil because evil has a temporary position that looks good to other beings that practice evil. But when the good starts to oversee that evil, and an evil recognizes its place in life, it says, come on, good. I just want to be bad for a little bit. You can't let me do that? You don't got much time. Okay. I just want to be on some bullshit just for a little bit, but not too long, all right? We got a deal? Do what you gotta do. Just don't hurt nobody. I'm gonna hurt myself anyways. I'm just learning, right? You've been forgiven. It's your nature. We're all sinners. You thought you was off the hook with that? No. You know what you're doing. And if you don't stop doing it, you'll be in damnation. That's the whole point of this movie, this documentary, being portrayed as we are all sinners. You sin against yourself every single day. How'd the watchers know that and then put it in English for us to start reading it unconsciously? We were never speaking in English, so how are we able to understand it for today?
Galactic trafficking. That's what's next. He about to start collecting bitches and shipping them bitches all across the galaxy. Y'all worry about did these hoes really go to space or not? Hell no, they didn't go to space. That was just a little practice launch.
Space exists in between your ears.
To make goofy bitches feel comfortable. When y'all go on a date with a rich nigga, he gonna be like, you know what? I got a little rocket. Let's blast up to space. You saw Katy Perry and Gail Kane doing that shit. They was all right. Come on, bitch. You ain't got no homegirls? Come on, bitch. Come on. Come float around, you and all your bitches. That's what's in right now. Bitches not going to Cancun no more. Fuck Virgin Islands. Fuck Bali. Fuck all that shit. We going to the atmosphere, bitch. Okay. Yeah, sure. We're never gonna fucking see your ass again. Y'all be safe out here.
So that's the awakening to all divine mirages watching this video. Understand too, intergalactic slave trading or auctioning off human vessels for the consumption of watchers, or I'll say different beings that are hiding in different servers, and how they're able to not only possess and shift their frequency and our vibrations. Now I'm showing y'all this because as well, this literally with intergalactic slave trading, understand, when they scattered, the book of Enoch doesn't even cover where these other sons of God or sons of men went, and daughters as well. We don't know where the fuck they went, but they scattered across this dimension. Now, in my interpretation, I feel as if somehow, some way, a lot of these beings knew a lot of shit on a anti-enlightenment, meaning that they knew a lot, but they used it for evil intentions. And I'm pretty sure a lot of them were able to start not only doing something to where they were able to go within this dimension, but they were able to somehow connect our lands and then place them outside into other terrain lands. And when they found these terrain lands, it's basically them just going back home. Because I feel as if CERN is a thing in Switzerland or whatever the case may be, wherever the country is going to be for CERN, the collider of atoms, opening up dimensions or portals, basically Stargate portals, by them activating these things and then going through them, you're going back in time as the watchers, because you have closer access to scientists who are able to open up these portals for you. So if that's the case, how are other lands enclosed by other firmaments as well? So basically that means to me, other mothers are out here giving birth to other lands that your mind is projected to be in. That's what makes sense to me. Meaning that, for one, this observation, so we're on the moon basically. If we're looking at this shit, we're on the moon right now. That's exactly why you only see one side of the moon. But I understand as well, if we're on the moon right now, imagine how many lands we haven't seen before. Niggas think they seen Jupiter or Saturn through a telescope. Whole entire time you're seeing a CGI image of a screening programming that makes you think Saturn looks just like that. But you look at Saturn's rings, those rings indicate how many times you've been enslaved in multidimensional realms or perspectives, surrounding an imprisonment of you being stuck in their timelines. That's why these beings got the movie theater portrait, or I would say prediction, that people pay for every day. Even I paid for it recently as well. They got this mimic from mimic spirits that come from spiritual realms. So our mind is living in Earth. You're not in Earth. You're not even on it. You're dreaming it to the point where now it's a physical lie.
Density, but they're also able to consume our flesh, consume our riches, consume our abundance, consume our source, and then make it antimatter for them to survive off of. And I'm showing you this inaccurate picture with some accuracy tied into it, because with intergalactic slave trading, this has happened for 2025 years, meaning that it's been going on forever. It's not a new concept, but it'll be new to people who actually don't put in the research by going within and being mindful within their own mindset. Because you got to basically picture yourself on the moon looking down at what other servers are doing and what they're being in. Because life is a server to these beings that are actually being in a higher way of being in other mirages outside of our barrier or limitations for the firmament that we are stuck under and living into. And because of that, these beings understand that, for one, we have the most precious carbon database as far as our genetics, our epigenetics, our neuromelanin, all of that. And so by us being closer to that source at a young age, they've been trying to get attached to us at a young age anyways. That's exactly why, too, with these movies coming out, these documentaries coming out, they're letting you know that, for one, they have to possess our body, including, doesn't matter what ethnic group you're attached to. You can be Caucasus, you can be Asian, you can be Palestinian, you can be Arab, you can be Irish, you can be carbonated, doesn't matter. They just want your energy. They need your vessel for them to stay immortal. So once that happens, when they traffic your body and they go and they do this stuff through breeding grounds as well. But when you're giving birth to so many different vessels, so many different thought processes, it's like you're basically leaving the park in 2K, or you're leaving the server in Roblox. You're going to a different game and you see thousands more of other beings playing a different game that you want to get introduced to, or even like Call of Duty, for example. Let's say you're in a match, the match ends, and then Call of Duty will send you to a different server for you to start playing again. So it can be team deathmatch, kill confirm, search and destroy, domination, all of that. So once you're going into these different servers and then you back out from that server, it's like now you're going into this waiting room, for example. So the waiting room is what they will call space. Space is the waiting room for what time you want to start continuing yourself to be in. That's exactly why CERN was made, for a reason, because you can ask yourself, so if we live in a dome or a firmament, how are they able to get to these different lands? They are traveling through Stargate portals, if you want to call it that. And I remember somebody telling me that the pyramids were deactivated, they're offline. The pyramids are online for beings who cast it to be online. We're not able to see that entity or that specimen be online because we're not around the pyramids anymore, because we have work to do every single day. That's why they were able to move and migrate us out of these different terrain lands to where we are in today, because we're all in Babylon. Not all of us are in Babylon, but we're all in the circus right now. So they gave us bread and drinks to celebrate or be entertained by, and then actors. So once you're distracted by that, and then going to school, going to bed, going to work, etc. You don't have any time for where these people are going, where these kids are going. So once they go through these Stargate portals, or they just go through a different mentality by instantly transitioning into a different realm that they're already being in, they're basically telling you that these marauders are already being in a vessel that they are consuming through our flesh and our mentality. So because they're taking our mentality, they're already being there waiting for us right now. So even with the archonic influence that they have over this whole terrain realm, these beings will send a certain vibration telling you, because there are initiators, there are watchers, there are different beings or handlers who will say, hey, I will pay you this amount of money if you go out and get those 5 little girls right there after school today. Oh, say less. How much am I getting? I'll give you 5 million. There's some people who will say, 5 mil, I'm going to go do it right now. So there's some parents who are waiting for the kids to come home right now, and they're not going home right now today because they're already in these different lands being trafficked, being surrogate mothers, and they're giving birth to different hybrid inverted beings that have no say-so in what they're going to learn and how they're going to be taught in a different world of being. So now when these beings feel as if, okay, you're ready to be the same exact thing that your mother was, they'll send them right back to Earth. Not only just that as well, depending on how deceitful the watcher or the parasitic entity is being, they will attach themselves to that host or that body, and then they will consume. They will leech off of this spiritual being's experiment of their embodiment, and then as they keep doing that, they'll send them right back to a different portal, but the being will be unconscious the whole entire time. So they'll feel as if that their mother and their father is their mother and father, but the whole entire time your mom and your dad are waiting for you to be mature in your body, your mindset and all that, but sometimes they don't even care for that. But they'll do the exact same thing to you because you were born to be trafficked. You were born to be a sacrificial lamb. So that story about Jesus or Lucifer or Satan or Yeshua or Yahuwah dying on that cross was really about you being sacrificed for the blood and the consumption of other beings who are thirsty for your bloodline. They want to keep doing this exact same shit because why? That's how they're able to stay immortal. And not only just that, excuse me, they sent our life expectancy down hundreds of years before. So if you read the Bible, or if you're reading the Bible shit, the book of Enoch as well, Enoch and Lamech and all these other beings were living up to like 914 years. What happened to us? Why are we living to only 50, 15, 20, 30, 60, 70, 80, 90? What happened? Why are these beings infinitely immortal? Why are they able to stay alive and stay prominent in what they're doing in higher hierarchies and secrecy? That's the whole entire reason for them to hide in secrecy in our society, in our bloodline. And you won't see what they look like till you actually meet them in front of your face. So you're not actually in Earth right now because Earth is the server of your mind. So how are you serving your mind in their server system? There is no solar system because you're not aware of that system that's actually existing within your mindset because you're already in these different mindsets being trafficked as well. So once you are able to be understanding of who you are in this realm for today, you'll be able to awaken your other infinite multiverses or your other quantum enlightenments or ideologies that you are existing in right now for today. They basically say in this realm, evil cannot die. You can't kill evil. You can't even deplete it from itself. So there is no good or bad because when you're observing good and bad, you'll realize intergalactic slave trading or slavery has been going on since before BCE and before AD, before a timeline was even called time, before the Big Bang Theory. These beings are in the future haunting our past because that's what happened to them in a different timeline or a different realm that they were enslaved into. And then they came into our realm and offered us more money, more transportation of exchanges through gold and silver and in houses and cars and fame and fortune. Once we got blinded by that shit right there, they understood, you know what? Our mind control experiment worked. Look at them, begging for attention, begging for a dollar bill, begging for illusions that they can't keep up with. So they can't keep up with that illusion. We'll use that against them to get closer to their bloodline and their children. And once we got their bloodline and their children, we have placed a curse upon themselves for their whole entirety, to the point to where now when they resurrect their mindset or consciousness, they will descend right back down into an infinite way of never being, meaning that you will always be in damnation when they have a hold of you in their own bondage through the form of what money never could be. Have a great divine day, divine reflection.
God damn. Okay, shit. Alright, so now if you don't understand that, that's exactly why YouTube is a thing. And this is 48 minutes. And understand reflections. We haven't even gotten to the most important thing. We haven't even gotten to the most important thing. This might have to be a part 2, but understand, because with all that being said, and that was just I didn't even cover the Twitter aspect for y'all. because I need to get into the Twitter part as well. Because I bookmarked very important thing. Hey, if he's bringing these shoes back, I ain't gonna lie, I'm going crazy with the KDs. I used to wear these in high school. I ain't gonna lie. Sheesh. But anyways, that's another invert as well. But the shoes hard. But who is Michael B. Jordan? So, like, so all right, so everything, so all the videos or the teaching I just gave to you just for that little introduction, that's an introduction right there. We not even in the main video. We're not even in the middle of the burger. But deception, adrenochrome junkie, surge in Satanism, genetics, perception of time, projection screen, transsexuality. I don't hate Saturn, draconian tradition, Jesuit symbols. I mean, what else we got? Was Michael B. Jordan, LeBron James, music, Saturn's a hexagram, talking to myself. Excuse me, how did she do that? Let the veil of the mind, get like everyone horny. I mean, bro, this teaching, I wanted it to be so accurate, bro, that I needed you all to understand how deceitful movies can get in society. And I want to bookmark, to me, perspectives that I could guide you throughout this video. Because some people have interesting perspectives, but they don't really, I never see anybody talking about the actual actors being cannibals. Like, all the beings in this movie. Hey, hold on. Like, just look at all the symbolism, do all these pictures. Dance with the devil. They are promoting you to dance with your subconscious mind. Dance with your urges. Dance with your lust. Dance with your greed. Dance with them. What's wrong with that? That's how they're portraying it. Not only that, do it through music. Do it through music. Okay, please tell me I got this. No, do I? Well, I got this one. I swear I had the other one, but because understand, these beings were telling you what they had to do to get pushed into the screening system. What do you have to do to get onto the IMAX theater or AMC? What do you have to do to get into the movie theater to get millions upon millions in the box office to the point to where now majority of the world is watching you in a movie? You're playing a certain role and you're acting in a certain script, playing a character. Did this happen to the actual character? Who knows? But people have to sit there and watch it as if it's not happening to you as this character. They are basically showing you what actors are doing in front of your face behind closed doors. So if you haven't seen this shit, I haven't even really told the movie. So you should be thankful, honestly. But I'm going to tell it now, though. Now, this is actually very accurate. Very accurate for sure. All right. The real star of sinners. Yes. She's the real star because she's the one that... Okay. Oh, yeah. Let me go ahead and do that for y'all as well because we got to be able to catch up. So this is smoke right here. This is smoke. Also, this is smoke right here. And then that's the star of sinners. And I do agree with that. But I'm going to show y'all because smoke is also stack. This is smoke. This is stack. Yes, Michael B. Jordan is that narcissistic to play himself as himself, basically. And basically, as soon as I seen that, my spirit just told me, okay, so red pill, blue pill, left brain, left wing, right wing, and all that good and bad, day and night, ascension, descension, etc. When I understood Elohim and Lucifer, I realized that this would be Michael B. Jordan as the woman, this is him as the man, which is why this being right here, Stack was the one who was foreign. He's the one that sold his ass for the money that they were stealing from mafias or even to get into positions for sustaining their lifestyle with the money that they were cursed or cursing themselves with, etc. And then Smoke was the one who was thinking before he was acting upon his nature. He's going to act on his nature, or she will act on her nature and then think later on. He's going to think first and then fight later on, but he's going to also align that is determining on what the situation is, because he ain't going to think for too long. When it's time to fight, it's time to get to it. But when they wanted their way, they was gonna shoot even our kind. It got so bad that, because when I remember as well, Sammy, which is this guy right here, this house in the movies as well. But this is Sammy in the future, so 1992. But with Sammy, because this is Sammy right here, they are cousins. Smoke and Stack, Michael B. Jordan, and this character right here, they're cousins in the movie. Now the thing is as well, when the being was picked up by his cousins, that's when all the shit happened. They were able to see plantation workers. They were able to talk about certain things, to where a guitar was introduced to Sammy's ideology, and that guitar was basically his worst nightmare. But he treated that nightmare with a passion that he still lives with for today, to the point to where he had the voice, his voice was so divine it burnt the roof off. But the thing is though, that's how these beings right here, the cannibals or the vampires, the cannibalists or the parasites, that's how they pictured the juke joint to be when they were done with it. That's what they wanted. Here's the thing though, they were, these Irish beings, they were talented, so the Europeans spell costumes, they were also talented in the Irish jig as well. And you'll see that further on in the movie when they were outside the juke joint. Now the juke joint would basically be like your club, your, just where you would go to be dancing, whatever the case may be. Okay, but that's where Smoke and woman right here, shorty right here, Annie, her name is Annie. She was able to tell Smoke before she was sacrificed, letting him know, if they ever do eat me or they consume me, you had to kill me before I transcend over. Because if that was the case, if he didn't do that, they were going to possess her, alter her consciousness, descend it down into her body, and she'll be watching herself be a cannibal for the rest of her life. She'll be placed in damnation with them. So he had to take rid of his lover, and they had a baby that was also sacrificed. And it got so bad that he reminded her, why couldn't we bring our child back? And you'll see in the movie as well. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you ain't see it, I apologize. I did tell you that I'm going to spoil the movie, but I wouldn't get mad because I'm just putting you on game of symbology, because the movie will show you so much symbolism that it's not so symbolic to actually see this video that I'm posting on YouTube. I've seen so many videos on YouTube about sinners that I haven't seen them go in depth like we're going in depth with this documentary about our reality that's actually false in our dream. In our dream, we're cannibals. Spiritually, we don't consume flesh or fruit. So what do we eat if we're transparent? We are thoughts eating ourselves. That's what a cannibal is. You are a thought eating yourself, your own delusion. I would say that I have never seen a movie highlight a wooden nickel and demonstrate how white landowners kept black sharecroppers poor. The idea that racism was like a vampire sucking the very life out of black people while making them the living dead. It's a fact. The thing is too, even this virus, so racism is a virus to me. Not only just that, he was willing to kill his own cousin because he was going to go to Chicago and change his life. He did not want that. He did not want him to do that. He said he was going to. He had the gun right to his cousin's face and told him, if you go there, I'll blow your brains out. Like, I will kill you right here where you stand. And he was like, do it. Because that's what he wanted to do. Sammy was tired of working for the slave master, but he was the best slave in the plantation. He was getting his work done early. But that was the vampire. That was the leech. We are the leeches leeching on ourselves, and then we blame somebody else for it, or a spirit for it. You are that spirit conjuring on yourself, nigga. You keep dancing with the devil, one day he's going to follow you home. Get back inside. Because that's when they were understanding that they were dancing outside. I'm talking way too fast, my bad, y'all. But they were dancing outside in secrecy. So they were squaring a circle. When they were dancing, they were basically summoning a certain entity to want to feast on their desires that they were singing and dancing to. That singing and dancing was able to cast these spirits and make them feel alive again. This is his brother. Now, his brother did get possessed, by the way. That was the last sunrise I ever saw. Perhaps the kindest thing the dark gift has given me. I don't miss the sun, the reminders it carries. It was the last time I saw the sun. It was the last time I saw my brother. For a few hours before the sun went down, we were truly free. And what's sad, Smoke and Shorty had died, and Stack was the one that survived. And Smoke made a deal with the devil or his brother to never touch Sammy. And you'll see that screenshot in a little bit. Like I said, I'm spoiling it, so if you get mad, don't watch this video. I don't feel bad. You should have been watched it. What you waiting for? Get your money up. But that's the saddest thing ever, though. This is basically like me describing what Blade would be, or Dusk at Dawn, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter what this movie's referencing. It's still the same message that's going on. These beings. So remember, even next Friday, holy moly, the freaks come out at night. What? In these movies, these occultists, they're not telling you these things just for entertainment. Now, of course, somebody who's dense mentally, they'll be like, holy moly. Like people who laugh at shit like that. But people who analyze the movies, they'll sit there and be like, the freaks come out at night. Because when you go outside, if you're a woman, do you feel as if you're safe walking outside by yourself at night? If you say yes, you're a brave soul. As a man, do you feel safe walking at night? You may say yeah, but sometimes you have to say no because you never know what's happening at night. I don't even like walking out at night. I don't like driving at night sometimes because you could be driving, just chilling in your mind, and somebody will just be standing in the middle of the street. And you never know what they're doing it for. Why are you doing this? But yet and still, excuse me, the dark has gifted them a certain way of fighting themselves again through you. Don't stop for that motherfucker. They're on the side of the road for a reason. And you don't know that reason. Sorry. But yes, so this is Stack right here. And Smoke made a deal. As they're fighting in the Jew joint, he made a deal with his brother to never bother Sammy. And of course, Smoke ended up being sacrificed. Not by his brother, though. Now, this is Remick right here. This is the first being, the Irish being that was possessed. And now the thing is, as well, we got to also go into... We had to go into the teaching on that as well, about the Irish and slavery in America. Alright. To Hell or Barbados, a book written by Sean Callaghan reveals the truth behind the Irish who were sold into slavery. After the Battle of Kinsale, 1601, the English had captured some 30,000 military prisoners and created an official policy of banishment or transportation. James II encouraged selling the Irish as slaves to planters and settlers in the New World colonies. The first recorded, or New World Order, has been going on. The first recorded sale of Irish slaves was a settlement of the Amazon River in 1612, and then an official proclamation ordered for Irish prisoners to get rounded up and sold as slaves to English planters. And this was between 1629 and 1632. A large number of Irish men and women were sent to Guiana, Antigua, and Montserrat. By 1637, approximately 69% of the population of Montserrat were Irish slaves. Negro slaves had to be purchased 20 to 50 pounds sterling. Irish slaves were captured and sold for 900 pounds of cotton. The Irish became the largest source of slaves for English slave traders. And then 1641 to 1652, over 550,000 Irish were killed by the English and 300,000. So basically, because you know how a lot of times people who practice racism who are European, they'll say, the Negroes or black people were the most barbaric or the most chaotic or animals. I ain't gonna lie, in your history, 550,000 Irish were killed by the English. Y'all killed yourselves. And then y'all brought that hate onto us to the point to where y'all brought that hate upon our people. And look at how it's resembled in this documentary. Look at how it's resembled. As we're sitting here dancing, being one with ourselves, you brought this hate upon yourselves, and then you use fellowship, religion, love, not only just that, a God, not only just that, you use music to get into our doors so that you can plague our communities, so that we can plague and eat ourselves. And we allowed it because we were loving. Because we had one of our own who was born in a family of black people, but they look white, and they were accepted, and they became weak-minded. So Mary was the one who ended up being weak-minded, and she got caught lacking by those Irish beings who practiced vampirism. As more men, and also, this is not to bash the 6 ether beings who watch my videos. All love and divinity to your spiritual awareness, not your pale costume. More men were transported. Now, if you are a racist or you practice racism, fuck you. Leaving their wives and children behind. They too were also rounded up and sold as slaves. Irish women and their daughters were of lighter complexion than the black slaves and were considered more valuable as domestic slaves. In 1649, Cromwell began a campaign of terror on Ireland. All captured soldiers were transported to be sold into slavery. A few months later, so basically, Roots is literally about them and about us combined together. So we all was enslaved. So people can't sit here and bash us for being slaves and trying to slander our name and shit when you were the first beings to be enslaved, and then you casted your history upon us and then did away with yours. No. Slavery is a mockery and a mimicry that you casted upon us. Not only did we enslave ourselves, you enslaved yourself as well. You are no better than us. So why does white supremacy exist when you are still enslaved to your skin tone? A few months later, in 1650, 25,000 Irish were sold to planters in St. Kitts. During the 1650s, over 100,000 Irish children, generally from 10 to 14 years old, were taken from their parents and sold as slaves in the West Indies, Virginia, and New England. In fact, more Irish were sold as slaves to the American colonies from 1651 to 1660 than the total existing free population of the Americas. In 1652, Cromwell ordered that the Irish were to be transported overseas, starting with 12,000 Irish prisoners sold to Barbados, the infamous to hell or to Connacht. Proclamation was issued on 1st of May 1654, confiscating all Irish held lands, and the native Irish were to be relocated west of the Shannon or to be transported to the West Indies. To expedite the process in 1657, the law was further clarified to read, those who fail to transplant themselves into Connaught or Coquelaire within 6 months shall be attainted of high treason, are to be sent into America or some other parts beyond the seas. Those banished who return are to suffer the pains of death as felons by virtue of this act, without benefit of clergy. It was not a crime to kill any Irish as soldiers were encouraged to do, but the slave trade proved too profitable to ignore. As a result, 52,000 Irish were sold to Barbados and Virginia alone. Another 30,000 Irishmen and women were taken prisoners in order transported and sold as slaves. In 1656, Cromwell's Council of State ordered that 1,000 Irish girls and 1,000 Irish boys be rounded up and taken to Jamaica to be sold as slaves to English planters. Still, they were more as little record was kept of this activity. Understand as well, when I say they are not like us and everybody's not a human being, you got to realize as well, if you are a cis-ether being, you cannot sit here and bash me for what I cannot control as far as my carbon database. They enslaved not only my bloodline, yours as well. Not only just that, if you were a cis-ether being getting enslaved by other cis-ether beings, what does that tell you about these beings who enslaved you as well? You think they look like you because they wore your costume, bitch, they are shifting skins. And as we're singing to get us throughout the day of our own enslavement, we got to go up against the slave master, our own brothers and sisters, and then parasitic spiritual beings. And then money. Excuse me. And religion. Five ways that keep us stuck in our ways. Few people realize from the 1600s to 1699, more Irish were sold as slaves than Africans. Servant indentures were a mutual agreement whereby a servant would sell a period of time in exchange for passage. In return, he would receive housing, food, clothing, and usually a piece of land at the end of the term of service. But the Irish were more often an exception. Sometimes the slavery was not recorded as such or not recorded at all. Because basically you were never enslaved. Like you were indentured servants, but that's still a higher form of slavery. We would be the slaves, they would be indentured servants. What's the fucking difference when we're still both enslaved? The only difference is their indentured slavery had little compassion towards it. So the beings that were fucking and aping and molesting your children, your mom, your grandma, your dad, your grandpa, your brother, your dog, your livestock, they said, you look like me, so I'm gonna give you a little bit more leeway. But if you look like the soil, nigga, fuck you. We gonna fuck you. We gonna fuck you some more, and then we gonna fuck your life up, and then fuck you some more afterwards because we hate you. You're greater than us as far as a being. I don't mean just physicality wise. I mean spiritually. We are the creation of creations, and they were created by our creations, and they hate that shit. That's why they modified our creation. From 1625, the Irish were sold with one purpose as slaves. There were no indentured agreements, no protection, no choice. They were captured and turned over to shippers to be sold for their profit. The profits were huge, 900 pounds of cotton for an Irish slave. Everyone in the slave trade from Ireland made a profit except for the slave. Irish and Africans were housed in the same facilities and were the property of the plantation owner. Nigga, we were both in this shit together. But y'all don't want to admit that. It's like people who practice racism, it's like you do everything you can to not bring up what you went through. You were enslaved just like us. What are you afraid of? They erase your history also. Just learn it. Research it. Don't be mad about it. It's your fault that you don't do the research. The planters had to pay more for a black slave. African Negroes cost generally about 20 to 50 pounds sterling compared to 900 pounds of cotton, about 5 pounds sterling for an Irish. Blacks were treated better. Carbonated deities were treated better. So they still didn't fuck with y'all. That's crazy. The Pope? Gotta make a video on the Pope as well. Because the Pope never died. Because how does evil die when it's just here transferring its consciousness right now? And all Roman Catholics were considered an enemy of God and civilization. But they do things in God's fellowship. Any infraction was treated harshly and severely. Many Irish died as a result of their treatment. It was not a crime to kill an Irish slave, merely a loss. However, Parliament saw the need to enact certain protection for slaves. In 1677, the Parliament passed the Act to regulate the treatment of slaves on British plantations, designating authorized punishments to include whippings and brandings for slave offenses against a Christian. Irish Catholics were not considered Christians, so these protections did not apply. The planters began breeding the Irish women because it was profitable. So understand as well, if you are not a carbonated, but if you are, well, a lighter version of carbon, but you lack neuromelanin, but you have a lighter form of melanin. But to the six ether beings, when I mentioned that breeding farm, understand, I was speaking for the future, teaching for right now as well. They also aped and molested your bloodline also. You are not off the hook. These beings are sick. That's why incest is actually a porn or a corn category. People actually watch that. They watch that shit. That's why people have fantasies on Smoke and Annie being lovers. Why would Smoke be kissing his mom? People thought that Annie was his mom. What the fuck is going on? You niggas are weird, bro. Children of slaves were themselves slaves. Planters then began to breed Irish women with African men to reduce more slaves who had lighter skin and brought a higher price. And the thing is too, if we didn't want to abide by that, they would blow our heads off. They would kill us. They would ape and molest our children, our moms, and our dads. So it was do or die. What you gonna do? Let your family get assaulted in front of your face? You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't have a heart if you did that. So where do you think light skin and all these albino, where do you think this shit came from? Breeding farms are a thing. In 1681, legislation was passed forbidding the practice of mating Irish slave women to African slave men for the purpose of producing slaves for sale, not out of moral consideration, but because slave traders saw it as competition. In 1691, following the Battle of Boyne and defeat of King James, Bible, King James, LeBron James, and LeBron James also has something to do with the Pope as well. But the Irish and Kobe's passing, but Kobe's still here though. The Irish slave trade had a fresh supply of captives ready to transport. For the next 100 years or more, the policy remained with transportation of Irish men, women, and children to be sold into slavery, a policy of ethnic cleansing. Finally, in 1839, a bill was passed in England forbidding these activities, bringing the Irish slave trade to an end. Okay. This is what really was interesting to me. The Boston Daily Journal, August 1st, 1911. Grisly discovery at Boston Harbor. Immigrant shipwreck, no survivors. Early this morning, dock workers discovered the wreckage of the Celtic Hare, a ship that had arrived overnight carrying Irish immigrants. Upon boarding, they found blood-soaked decks, burnt remnants, and a haunting silence. There were no survivors, and no bodies to be found. Witnesses reported seeing strange flickering lights and hearing music from a distance. That's crazy. The night prior, as it approached, as if an Irish celebration had been taking place aboard the ship, but the festivities must have turned to horror. The ship's cabins were destroyed and scorched furniture lay scattered. Only signs of brutal violence and fire remained. As the workers approached, a local woman claimed to have seen a lone man fleeing the scene, his skin reportedly smoking as he disappeared into the shadows. The cause of the wreck and the mysterious disappearance of all aboard is under investigation by authorities. Letting you know that whatever happened to the being that fled the scene, the Native Americans were chasing this being out because this was a pure evil that was on the ship. So go watch the movie The Voyage of Demeter, The Last Voyage of Demeter. But that was when Dracula was on that ship and the beings were at sea. And then I haven't seen that movie, but I need to go see that as well. So now I caught you up with the Irish and all that. This is Remick, which is basically the being, and they were dancing in secrecy. But the being possessed this entity right here so that it could gather other beings in unity for fellowship. Same thing that the Vatican or the Pope would be doing. He wants the same things, but he wants to create a community in a way that he deems palatable at the expense of the black bodies, while reaping the benefits of their culture. In this case, Sammy's music allowed him to connect with his people. Meaning that Remick wanted to connect with his bloodline also because he missed his family. For him to get his family back, he had to use our voice to get him into those veils that we couldn't see, but we could access and open up. Because we can open up those portals through elements and through music, he was also talented in music as well. And he was also tapped into the spiritual realm. So as he's drooling right here, that's how thirsty he is to get that feeling again, to where he can taste it. That's what drove him to consuming blood. I'm glad I found this. This right here, okay. I'm just so glad. Y'all see me smiling, right? Because I'm just so glad to bookmark this stuff for you so that we can just be on the same page, man. I'm just so thankful. All right, let's get into it. One of the scenes right here, and I will walk you through it. I'll guide you through it. Okay, this is Annie right here. This is Smoke right here. I forgot his name, but he's also very important because he tells you his story as they were driving in the plantation. I think Stack was with him, and Sammy's in the background with Pauline. But I forgot his name, but I have a bookmark of his name. Now, actually, let's go ahead and find that bookmark real quick. So I got his name. It is... I'm gonna find his name real quick for y'all. What's your name, my guy? Your name is very important. Your name is just as important as everybody else's in here. No, not that. Found it. Delta Slim. Got it. Thank you so much. Okay. Now let's go back to that. And we're only 1 hour and 18. Sheesh. You already know me, man. I need to do a part 2. Y'all like when I do that anyways, when I split it up, so it's all good. Okay. We got through that. All right. Let's get it. Now, Delta Slim, remember that name. Okay, this is Smoke. Now, this is Cornbread right here. You'll see who Cornbread is. He played in ATL. And he didn't play ATL. He played in 8 Mile, my bad. He played in 8 Mile and in Transformers. But Smoke, Annie, Delta Slim, she's a part of the Asian group. She's very important as well. And she had to sacrifice herself for a child. That's Sammy and Pauline over here. But here's Delta Slim.
Just step aside and let me on in now.
Why you need him to do that?
Pauline, married woman, by the way. She's a married woman, and he ate her out in one of these rooms. Actually, in that room right there.
You big and strong enough to push past us?
Well, that wouldn't be too polite now, would it, miss?
Okay, now I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all are wondering what she's doing outside the juke joint. Now, at this scenario, they're inside the juke joint. This is Cornbread. Cornbread was on the plantation, and his wife was having a baby. That's why he's there right now, because basically the beings who are carbon and they're in this juke joint, the ones who are, as of course, the main characters or protagonists, they were looking for money, looking for opportunity to make more money, because Smoke and Stack, which are basically twins or playing themselves, the alter ego and the ego consciousness, they had so much cursed money by robbing the Italian mafia. So even with the Irish and Italian mafia, they went to Chicago to rob both. And that's when, I guess they split up somehow, some way, but Stack was selling ass to get more money and all that. And then this being was doing other things as well to get more money. So it was just a lot of things going on. But Stack picked up Cornbread on the side of the road and offered him more money than he could ever imagine. So he joined in, and then fast forward, Delta Slim, no, Cornbread was supposed to guard the door. He was the bouncer. He went to go take a piss, and Delta Slim was the one who was supposed to watch the door. Cornbread didn't come back for quite a while. At this point, though, when Cornbread was taking a piss, the other beings, the vampire, the parasites, the cannibals, they were already outside. They were already snatching people. They were already taking people. So they were waiting for somebody else to go outside as well, because they weren't aware of what was going on, because they were too busy being stuck. But now, in this point in time, Cornbread is gone. Like, he's already been possessed. They already bit into his flesh already, and they placed their spirit into him. So that's exactly why they're asking, why can't you come into the juke joint? Why do you have to ask to come into a place that you're already invited in? That's like, for example, you're my family member. You're my best friend. You're my brother, my sister, whatever. We're at a party, whatever. You'll use the bathroom, and me and somebody else are taking care of business. You come back hours later. I ask the other bouncer, I'm like, yo, Delta Slim, where the fuck Cornbread at? And then you say, oh, I'm right here. Can I come in? Why would you ask me, can you come into a place that you were the bouncer for? You know you're invited to this place because we like this. And you gonna ask me, can you come in? You're not the Cornbread that I know. They got you. You're dead. They killed your subconscious mind, and now you're observing it with no awareness. That's damnation.
I don't know why I'm talking to you anyway.
Don't talk to him. You're talking to me.
And she was able to perform hoodoo. She was a hoodoo consultant, or a hoodoo consultant made this character very prominent in hoodoo by using candles, spices, herbs, like onions, steak, all of that.
Now, why you can't just walk your big ass up in here without an invite, huh? Hey, admit to it.
Admit to what?
That you dead.
So you listening to this? Now we out here playing games, telling ghost stories.
And you see that tear in his eye, because that's what I liked about the character, not the actor, but the character understood that this is how you gotta be as well. If a woman is spiritually in tune and she understands these deceptive spirits, you gotta trust her instincts, her intuitive nature, her instinctual observation. If she's giving you the blueprint for what this dense energy, this demonic vibration is being, you have to trust it. If you do not, you will get yourself obliterated. And there isn't going to be hoodoo to bring you back from what was destined for you to be. That's why you have to be able to actually be open-minded and put your ego to the side and leave the pride out the door. That's why pride is the devil. And many of these beings were prideful in their nature. That's what got these motherfuckers killed like smoke.
In place of doing what we ought to do.
And what is it we supposed to be doing?
Being kind to one another. And being polite. Now we is...
Cause Delta Slim looking like what, nigga? What? Like y'all just gotta peep this shit.
Stories in place of doing what we ought to do.
And what is it we supposed to be doing?
Being kind to one another.
And this is the spirit. This is what they do. They joke because they want to make it seem as if that's how Cornbread used to be, because they don't know how to have people skills. They haven't gotten warmed up to the vessel that they are possessing themselves in. So when you're in spiritual warfare, when you're really in tune with your energy, when you're really in a higher ascension, you'll be able to see that a lot of people put on a facade, a mask, son of the mask, Jim Carrey. But they'll put on a mask and they'll change their voice. Modification, because you can't change your voice if you choose to, depending on what being is being in your body, if it's not you being in your body. That's why he said being kind to one another, because he figured as if that's the best way to win them over into baiting them into him consuming them for more love, companionship, and being together. But they wasn't going for that because Cornbread wouldn't be talking like that. So they were spiritually in tune with going outside of what they used to know about the love they had for this used to be.
Being polite. Now we is one people, and we shouldn't go in barging into other folks' places uninvited. So
Told on himself. We shouldn't barge into people's places uninvited, but you were invited. You were the bouncer, nigga. They know you dead now. You just told on yourself. That's a spirit not understanding how to be contradicting. That's how you're able to actually tell who's spiritually in tune and who's not.
you've been in and out of here all day.
Mm-hmm.
You never need an invite then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something ain't adding up. Can I at least get my money?
That's the bait right there. Can I at least get my money? They always worried about money. And hear what Annie says.
Careful.
Telling him careful for a reason. But they always worried about money, and why is that? Now, as you can see, that's letting you know that she's trying to bite his arm off.
What y'all doing? Just step aside.
But, no, of course, it didn't happen because he shot his ass in the face and shit. But when he did, he ate that bullet like it was nothing. So, I understand as well, this is going to be... Hopefully, it don't mess up my bookmark placement as well. I want y'all to see this video. Come on, don't start messing up my placement in the video. Okay, we're not that far ahead. We right here. Okay, we're good with the recording. All right, what time is it? 4:22, damn. All right, so now, everyone has said everything about Sinners movie on here, being that tonight was my second time watching it. I want to talk about another aspect. Mind you, I love and agree with all the positive buzz about Sinners. This is Mary, by the way, and then this is Stack. And Sam, that's Stack right there. And Sammy is the Sammy who had a guitar and all that. He's in the future. He's in 1992. But the vampires are still immortal. They still live, and they talk to him. One of the negative thoughts about Sinners was that the vampire portion of the movie felt like an afterthought. I get that it's an allegory for the race relations of that time as well. And so that's Stack right there. That's Mary. So that's who he wanted to be with, but he sent her off to live with a white man to be comfortable while he went to Chicago. And then when they went to the train station, she found him again and they reminded him about like him being in her pussy and all that. But him being the head vampire, he was able to possess all the other carbonated databases, and they were singing in the Irish jig. And this is the Asian lady's husband right here, and their daughter was back in town. Also, I felt that we were fed the lore and exposition about vampires so late in the game, pretty much only when shit hit the fan didn't feel seamless. This is Stack right there. He got bit by Mary, which is Shorty right here. Shorty right here went outside, and it was him and then the two other people, a husband and a wife. They got possessed by him. And then she went outside of the Jew joint and went to go talk to them because of their skills in music, and then she got possessed. And then she bit this nigga, and then he stabbed through the door to get their attention. Then Smoke is trying to battle his mind with what's going on. She bit his hand because Remick, the Irish, this being right here, he spoke in Chinese, saying that he knows how she wants her pussy licked or whatever. When Grace lost it, they asked her name Grace. Why the hell would she invite these vampires into the bar? Her heart was in a good place, but also she doesn't own the bar. How is she given the power to let vampires in? So they're gonna marry right there. Also didn't expect this movie to be so horny. So I understand as well. They did have a lot of scenes that, got people horny, clearly. And I understand as well. That's also sex magic, by the way. Alistair Crowley has books on sex magic. So you can't alchemize sex and transcend it if you know how to, or if you know what you're doing, if you know the woman's body. But let's go into, where is it in this gematria right here? So Jesuit symbols, as far as the sex symbols, Passion of Ishtar, fertility. We understand as well with Easter just passing, so Lucifer rising again. Decode masturbation. This is your God hidden in plain sight. And then let's see here. Gay sex worship. Okay. So now, peep this. Who is Michael B. Jordan? Gay sex worship. Everyone horny. Woman, man. Man, man. But to the public, to an unconscious thinker, woman and a man. And you'll be like, Divine, what did you just say? I don't know what you're talking about. I got you. Remember this, gay sex worship, everyone horny. TikTok algorithm, Twitter, gematria. Twitter, gematria. Now, since you are able to understand that, gay sex worship, everyone horny. As you can see, the male skull doesn't fit. Look at the eyes. Doesn't fit. Look at the nose. Look at the eyes. Eyes fit in the socket. Teeth aligned. Nose. Nostrils. Look at the hips. Look at the arm movements. Look at the space. Diamond position. Remember, legs diamond. Female gait. Females walk like this. Woman, man, playing as a woman. Woman playing as a man, man playing as a woman. To the public, though, a man and a woman. Woman, man. The thick white substance dangling from the vampire's mouth was a choice. I think that the substance was supposed to be the virus that turns people into vampires, like rabies. And that's their DNA, their epigenetics, as far as the cannibals. These parasites, they had a certain, I would say, fluid. A certain fluid that would transfer into your DNA and it will alter it just like that. To the point to where now you're possessed into a certain way of being. And these beings were so nasty in this movie that they were actually swallowing blood, swallowing spit, eating pussy. This shit was crazy. Now, this is what, bingo. So you...
Right place at the right time. You tell him the truth, Mo.
I'm trying to pause it.
I can see his memories. Mo, that ain't your brother. It wasn't no juju. Right place.
Now, this is when he was chased by the Native Americans and they were trying to get the spirit out of him. He knocked on a bunch of, so the people, the husband and the wife I mentioned earlier, they were in the KKK. They had the hoodie shown in this part, but you don't see this part. They had the shotguns because they didn't know who he was. But then when he told them that he was white and that people were trying to come kill him and all that, they let him in their house. And this is where Stack got possessed and Mary got possessed, and that's the husband and the wife who are possessed as well. So now they're all together sharing the same thoughts as far as being vampires or cannibals or Nephilim. So they're basically all Cain and Abel's. Cannibals. Parasitic entities or extraterrestrial deities, skin shifters, who are consuming and they're seeking the thirst for more blood.
I can see his memories. Mo.
That's the gift that they have as well. They can see your memories. So when they bite wherever they want in their spot or a spot on your vessel, they will help you see into the future. That's where the gold came from as well. So there's a scene as well.
That ain't your brother. It was no juju.
There's a scene in the movie that he mentioned that the gold comes from another timeline. And I made sure I was taking notes while the movie was playing. And this is where the Native Americans were chasing him. You don't see them though, but I got a screenshot for y'all. So is the notes that I took. Now, I do not apologize for them being all over the place because my thoughts are just not in order. I gotta make sure that when I have a thought, I immediately put it down or it'll go away because these thoughts don't belong to me. So I'm even thankful to even have these transcendent vibrations in my mind because when they're gone, somebody else gonna have them. Gotta make sure I trap them. Trap my thoughts. Alright, gotta make sure I can find that. Okay, we're good. Alright, hold on. Do this. Got my face. Alright. Where do we have that at? Native Americans said that. May God watch over you and be with you. Stag said numbers gotta be in conversation with each other, or Smoke said that. What's the difference though? This is the beginning of the movie. Conjuring spirits from the past and future get the music. Preacher's Boys, what Sammy was called. Sunflower Plantation. Okay. Bingo. So Remick right here. REMMICK. That spirit said, different place and different time, but it spins well in deep pain that money can't fix. Solid gold, fellowship and love. Different place and different time, but it spins well in deep pain that money can't fix. They sold their ass and their morals for gold, and then they were selling gold to other beings as well who never seen that gold before. Now, when they say the timelines of music, they're saying as well, this is what societies with secrecy or Satanists will be doing as well, Luciferians or occultists will be doing behind closed doors. And there's just a scene of, so all the eras of music, I'm gonna go back for y'all, all the eras of music are in just one scenario. So people, when you watch this scene right here was an out-of-body experience, at least for me, because you had 1932, you had the future like rock and roll, you had ancient time periods, current time periods, you had hip-hop, all of that. And that's Cornbread right there, asking for an invite and shit. But this is the music and the energy